Welcome back to Good Day Northern Michigan. If you're looking for an interesting book about perseverance and to be courageous, then Not a Real Enemy is a must-read and a captivating book.
It is a true story about a Hungarian Jewish man's fight for freedom. Author Robert Wolfe wrote Not a Real Enemy, thank you. He joins us live on Good Day Northern Michigan to talk more about the true story of Irvin Wolfe. Robert, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
And Robert, give us a little bit of a background on the story of this book.
Okay, well, the book is actually a biography about my dad, like you had said. My dad lived an amazing life prior to coming to the United States and even Michigan, where he spent the back end of his life. It's a biography about my dad, of course. It's a history light book covering Hungary from World War I to the end of the Hungarian Revolution in 1956, where my mom and dad were actually frontliners. My dad was an OBGYN, and during that war, where 3,000 people died in just 2 weeks and countless injured and refugees, my dad was he had to double down as a trauma surgeon during that war. Oh, wow. And then they finally escaped the country after the end of Hungarian Revolution. It's also it covers my dad's parents and their families and their triumphs and tragedies and how they had to tolerate the Holocaust and even their lives before the Holocaust. And anti-Semitism is in the background of the book throughout. There's a lot of messages in the book, a lot of important messages. And
Robert, can you break down some of those messages that you're trying to send with the book?
Sure. Well, resilience is one. Resilience is a big message. Determination. My dad just wanted to be a physician. He didn't want to live under the Nazi Party or the Communist Party, and he was often conflicted about being able to practice medicine in the free world or practice medicine at all. My dad was a multiple escape artist too, so risk tolerance is another message. I mean, the risk tolerance over time on my dad just went up and up and up. Ultimately, the message is also fighting anti-Semitism, of course, which I continue to do a person at a time. And also how you can get through the most harrowing times of your life, how you can mentally and spiritually fight the most harrowing times of your life and still manage to make it through and be successful. So, and also redemption, since my dad ended up becoming an OBGYN and delivered thousands of babies in the Detroit area. That's the ultimate message too, in the end, after all he went through. So the history of the book goes back to the 1970s. I turned my mom and dad's autobiography, paper and pencil, to typewriter, to computer, to a disc. My dad passed in 1997, unfortunately, then my mom in 2016, and a historian friend handed me the disc. I didn't think much of it at the time, kind of retired, took care of my mom's affairs, went back to work as a radiologist in 2018, loaded the disc into my computer. And between cases, I was reading my dad's stories, and I thought, these are amazing, they're miraculous, they're fantastic. I had to share them with the world. So,
I was just wondering that because, we all, listen to stories, or at least many of us listen to stories from people in our families who have gone on before us. And they've either tell us the stories or write these things down. And was that something you sat there and you listened to the story and you just felt compelled that you needed to share it with the rest of the world?
Well, absolutely. I couldn't say it any better. But the first half of my life, I was more career-oriented, and my parents didn't talk so much about their past with me, maybe because I was young, immature, a little bit indifferent, and I had a family, of course, and a career. But the second half of my life, my mom talked about it often. They read about history and the Holocaust in Hungary often. They had tried to educate their friends, family, and they were diversified people, too. The stories they wrote were so accurate. They were so sharp. It was like the events happened the day before that they wrote the story. So some people don't like sharing these messages. Some people have severe PTSD. My mom and dad just seemed to fight that off. They educated, they fought it off, and they were determined to live a much better life and have a better life for me, and they did just that. So
now, Robert, something you mentioned earlier that has just stuck in my brain was multiple-time escape artists. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that?
I can. I don't want it to be a spoiler because I want.
Oh, of course not. No. We got. You got to read the book.
Well, he escaped 4 times. Twice from forced labor camp under Nazi Hungary. Once was out in the middle of the woods. They did march after march. They were in place after place. Who knows where? Digging trenches, digging holes for landmines, building airports. And my dad got ill once or twice. He went to the hospital, went back to a march, and he and his best friend decided that this might be a death march. So they took off. It was a dark in the middle of the mountains in the middle of the winter, and they ran and ran and ran and hid. And the way it's described, you can actually you're there. You're in it. You feel like you're the one hiding.
So
Then they they escaped in Budapest once because they got corralled. They got caught after weeks on the run. And then he escaped as a med student, and again, finally in 1956. And they all have their own. And he even missed an escape too. I'll throw that little teaser out there. He missed an escape.
I was going to say it's probably it's interesting. You can lay the groundwork, but in the book you can read exactly how that was done and how they were able to escape.
Absolutely. Forged papers, arguing with armed Russian soldiers. The people you thought would be your friends turned out to be your enemies. The people thought you'd be your enemies turned out to be friends. Hiding places you wouldn't expect. Months on the run, even after his second escape, just months on the run and in hiding, and ultimately did good by himself. But it wasn't all pretty. So, just a mixture of just amazing stories. Hard to believe that my dad made it through, and I'm lucky to be here. He was lucky to do what he did, and just miraculous.
Again, a great story of perseverance and courage, and of course the message of fighting anti-Semitism at the same time, and also escaping those who keep us in captivity. Robert Wolf, the author of Not a Real Enemy, thank you so much for joining us. Can you tell us how I can go and buy that book?
Yeah, I sure can. I'm proud to say that the book is available at the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
It's beginning to be sold on bookshelves, starting with Barnes & Noble in Manhattan Beach, California, which was a really nice piece of news last week. And you can buy it online at Barnes & Noble, Walmart, and Amazon.
Very
you can
good.
read more about it on my website, too, if you'd like. Other videos and interesting content. Robert J. Wolf, MD.
Again, the book called Not a Real Enemy, author Robert Wolf. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much, Robert.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.